Yo, welcome back to the channel. Going to be talking about the latest move by the ECB, which I have the article here, and for some reason it started at the bottom of the page. But it says Euro falls sharply as ECB vows to keep printing money until 2024. So, if they're serious, if they're serious about fighting inflation, printing money till the end of 2024, eh? The euro tumbled below parity against the dollar on Thursday night after the European Central Bank, the ECB, vowed to continue its money printing program despite surging inflation. Just let that sink in. The ECB increased its interest rate by 0.75% in an effort to limit sharply rising prices, with inflation hitting 9.9% across the Eurozone last month. It's pretty crazy inflation to lose a tenth of your purchasing power just in that time. But it also said it would continue the quantitative easing program where new money is created to buy bonds. The euro dropped around 1% against the dollar. Christine Lagarde says that's the president of the ECB. Inflation remains far too high and will stay above the target for an extended period. So extended period is how long are they expecting? Extended period. What if inflation rises when they get their cold winter, because there's obviously an energy crisis with the sanctions. So inflation could easily accelerate 15% to 20% or anything. So when you leave inflation unchecked and it gets those higher numbers, it doesn't take long to start completely wiping out your purchasing power. To me, you've got to deal with the problem. Problem's inflation. You've got to fight inflation. That's it. You can't be worried about any other problem until you afford inflation. And the other problems are going to be unemployment. It's going to be a recession. It's going to be a depression if they start seriously fighting inflation. Because of the quantitative easing and the 0% interest rates from 2008 onwards, sort of thing, has made the problem so bad that to actually fight it is it's going to be painful, but it has to be done. You just simply can't have money printing while this inflation is going on. You've got to tighten monetary policy and where the chips have to fall where they may. It's a second straight 0.75% rate hike. And the benchmark deposit rate has been lifted to 1.5%, bringing it to its highest level since early 2009. Excuse me. So, but just think, 2009. Wow. We haven't had interest rates over 1.5% since 2009. It's a long time. Inflation in the euro area reached 9% inflation. And 9.9% inflation in September, 5 times the ECB's target. So the ECB has an $8.8 trillion balance sheet. That's massive. That's a massive amount of debt. The ECB vowed to continue creating money by reinvesting the principal payments from maturing bonds bought in the aftermath of the Eurozone crisis during COVID. Bonds bought in the years after the Eurozone crisis would be reinvested for as long as necessary. I would say that means permanently. It also says the ECB extended the life of its COVID debt purchases until the end of 2024 at least, which means they're going to do it a lot longer. To me, the euro, in my opinion, is doomed. It is going to hyperinflate, in my opinion. They have no intention of fighting inflation. I think that as the economy starts to weaken and the winter energy crisis and the food crisis I see coming, starts to really rear its ugly head, they will drop rates to zero and print like never before. Sorry, keep yawning. Had a big feed. The cautious approach makes a divergence from the UK and the US. The Federal Reserve has already started to sell bonds back into the market, reversing QE, while the Bank of England will follow next week. The Bank of England, I believe, already was printing the other day, were they not? The economy is already showing signs of a downturn, and Christine Lagarde said, economic activity in the euro area is likely to have slowed significantly in the third quarter. Leaders in Italy, France, and Finland have all expressed doubts about whether the aggressive rate hikes are the right approach. So, it's not looking good for the euro, in my opinion, or the eurozone. They have so many problems. I think the sanctions are something that they can't really afford. They might be well intended or whatnot, but they need energy. They need food. And that comes from that area of the world. So I think to cut that off and hope you can get it somehow else, or get it somewhere more expensive, is not really, to me, a great strategy. But I think there's this pressure on these central banks, is that they must know they can never raise interest rates. They must have always known it. They must have always known they could never raise interest rates and fight inflation, and done what they done anyway, as the debt was increasing, as people were investing into stuff because it kept going up because of the interest rates. They knew that this was going to come to an end one day, but we'll just worry about that another day. To me, that's terrible. It's terrible handling of a situation. And I think that they are just doing what they need to do to fool the markets, to say, oh yes, we're going to raise interest rates. We so are going to raise interest rates, and we are going to fight this inflation, and we're tough, and we're going to do the right thing. But I don't think they have any intention of doing it. I just think that they are going to try and fool the markets for as long as possible. And that's what Peter Schiff was saying. He would be on TV talking to these guys, these sort of pundits, and they were saying, what are you saying, Peter? The Fed is lying, because the Fed's saying that one day it's going to raise interest rates, it's going to shrink its balance sheet, it's going to do it. It's just not quite the right time yet, but it is going to do it. It's the markets were all saying that they believe it, and you're sitting there telling me that the Fed is lying. Well, I think they were lying, and Peter was right, because they knew they couldn't fight interest rates. I mean, they are doing rate hikes now, but we shall see how long they persist with these rate hikes when the real pain starts to come. When these rate hikes become so unpopular, inflation becomes unpopular, economy becomes unpopular. We're only just getting started, and we ain't seen nothing yet. This is only the beginning of this inflation, in my opinion. All right, guys. Thank you if you've subscribed to the channel. I love it if you do, and if you would be kind enough to comment in the comments below and give your thoughts. It really does help the channel out. Give us a like, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.